One last time on the announcement. If you're just joining, go ahead and grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, what your knowledge is you think about AI. We're 2 minutes past. We're going to get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Hirsch. I'm a product coach and the founder of Break a Pencil Consulting. Welcome to my lightning lesson, which is a preview of a 3-week cohort-based class that I'm kicking off here on Maven on November 4th. More details on that later. I'm super excited for you to be here today, and really thank you for sharing your time with me. Quick overview on the agenda. I'll spend about a minute talking about myself with an introduction. We'll spend some time talking about why you should focus on AI now, not later. I'll go through an overview of the AI landscape today. It's changing very, very quickly, but kind of where we are today. I'll share a key framework for helping you figure out where to bring AI into your day-to-day and work as a product manager. We'll go through 2 real-world examples, which I think will maybe give you some inspiration to actually go and try some of this stuff yourself. I'll share a little bit about the actual course details, and we'll have time for a Q&A. I've got 27 slides. I've got 27 minutes. Let's get after it. A little bit about me. I've got over 20 years of experience in product management and product leadership from a variety of different companies, some of those shown here. I am also an adjunct professor of strategy. I teach at the 2 major business schools here in the Seattle area, University of Washington and Seattle University. I teach strategy to both undergrad and graduate business school students. A lot of times people ask why. Why do you teach? I do it because I love helping, in this example, or in this case with product managers, I love helping product managers, product marketers, and product leaders develop professionally, grow, learn, and really get the most out of what I consider to be the best job in the world. I have loved my time being a product manager and a product leader, and I want to share that with others. Why should you focus on AI now? A little later, it's changing, it's evolving. You focus on it now, maybe you're going to be outdated by tomorrow, but still, why now? Well, it all starts with a story. I'm going to roll the clock back to August of 2003 in New York City. Picture this. I'm in New York for work. It's 2003. I'm on the 53rd floor of Sony's corporate offices, where I was working at the time. I had already checked out of my hotel. I wasn't living in New York. I was there on a business trip. I was ready to fly to Florida that evening to meet my wife. Suddenly, at exactly 4:10 p.m., everything went dark. At first, I thought maybe it was just our building losing power. No, not at all. As it turned out, I would later learn it wasn't our building. It was the entire northeast of the United States and parts of Canada. We're talking 55 million people without power. The scene was unbelievable. Streets were chaos, gridlock everywhere. There were no traffic lights working. There were no trains operating. The airports, all of them closed indefinitely. So I grabbed my bag. I walked down 52 flights of stairs, and I hoofed it up 40 blocks uptown to a friend of mine's apartment. On the way, I used whatever cash I had to stock up on water. Remember, credit card machines all need power. And it was a scorcher that day. So cash really came in handy. Night fell, and it was just unbelievable, very surreal. The city that never sleeps was pitch black, scenes like you wouldn't imagine. And we would later learn from satellite footage just how big the extent of this power failure was. Just the amount of land mass and the population density, how widespread this blackout was. At the time, the 2nd largest power outage in the world. The next morning, I head to the airport, hoping for a miracle. I arrive at the American Airlines terminal. It's a ghost town, except for people camping out on the floor, sleeping wherever they could. I'm about to give up, just go back into the city, when I met an older guy in maybe his early 70s, and his name was Ira. He was also trying to get to Florida, as it turned out, and he suggested we share a cab and go to the JetBlue terminal at another airport. At the time, JetBlue here is about 4 years old, so his thought process was they might be the only airline creative enough and scrappy enough to really figure a way out of this mess. And his advice, which I keep to this day, was always move forward. So we head to the JetBlue terminal and we arrive to find hundreds of people, massive lines. Ira leads me around the crowds to an empty counter. No agents, no power, no hope, right? Wrong. Ira waves an agent over. I get creative and I offer my credit card information and say, can you charge us for the tickets when you get power? Put us on a flight now, though? And the woman looks at me and says, well, what if your credit card gets declined? Dead end, right? No, I had another creative thought and I offered up a future flight reservation I had on JetBlue as collateral. I whipped out my laptop, I showed her the information. So now she had credit card information to charge, and as a backup, she had my flight reservation for my whole family later that year to take the value from if the credit card didn't work. What about Ira? She said. I looked at her, I looked at him, and I said, I'll vouch for him too. And with that, we had a deal. And the agent wrote out our tickets by hand. And against all odds, we made it to Florida. While 1,700 flights were canceled over those 3 days, we managed to do the impossible. What's the lesson? Sometimes a little creativity and the willingness to keep moving forward can make the impossible actually possible. So always moving forward will put you at the front of the pack. Be this guy, not that guy. And just like 2003 blackout shook things up, today AI is disrupting our entire industry. So I'm going to ask you, what are you doing to keep moving forward? Well, for starters, you're here. So kudos to all of you for taking that first step and being self-aware. This is a massive opportunity and you need to grab it. So a quick break, put in the chat. I'm curious to know, what AI tool do you use most frequently, most often? One, could be two or multiple. Just let me know in the chat. What do you use? Perplexity. Oh yeah. Love that one. ChatGPT. Okay, good. OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. ChatGPT. All right, excellent. Yeah, lots of ChatGPT. Ah, here we go. Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity. That's my trifecta as well, actually. Rohit. Apollo, SageMaker. Yeah, okay, sure. Good. Locify. All right, excellent. So these are the most popular generative AI platforms today. We hear about these all the time. You really can't go much of a day without hearing about one or more of these. And this, right, should be the current landscape. No, it's not even close. Let's actually dive into what the landscape looks like for AI tools today, and specifically focused around product management. So I'm starting here with a very high level product lifecycle, right? There's a lot more detail you can put around this, but at a high level, you've got conception of product ideas, development of the product, launch, and then scale, all right? So let's go phase by phase and see what are some things we can do with AI and what are some tools that might be able to help us. Starting with conceive, market analysis, trend forecasting. This is where we're chewing through massive amounts of data and research reports and what would have taken typically weeks or days or to try to understand and find patterns and insights now can be done very, very quickly by asking AI to go through all of it and look for some trends and insights. Identifying customer needs and, more importantly, coming out of that with some segmentation. How do I slice and dice the customers in the market that I'm looking at? Ideation, coming up with new ideas. AI isn't just your intern, or AI isn't just your copywriter. AI can also be your thought partner. And in many ways, that's one of its most powerful personas. Concept validation. You've got some ideas, let's validate it. Let's ask some questions. Let's kind of go back and forth with AI. And writing market requirements, right? Initial documents to kind of prove what's the business case. There's a couple tools out there, Crayon, Qualtrics, GlueCharm, that help with some of these. Let's move to develop. Now we have to write product requirements. Agile or not, you're still writing down user stories and product requirements. And we're going to go into detail on that with an example in a few minutes. You're also doing prototyping and testing. You should be trying to figure out prioritization of features and how maybe some predictive analytics might actually help with that. And finally, is there some QA or even bug prediction you can do? And iterate.ai, product board, and functionize are all helpful for that. And now we launch. We got to create marketing content. We've got to create user documentation. What's the launch going to go like? Maybe we can do some predictive modeling around that. Competitors are going to react and respond. So how do we do competitive analysis, but in real time so we know what's happening? There's a few tools out there, including Persado, Tableau, and Compite. And finally, scale. Now we've got some success, we've got some product market fit, and now we want to pour gasoline on that fire and scale this up. Let's understand what our customers doing. What's the behavior they're doing on our platform with our product? How do we optimize some performance and do some A/B testing? How do we predict where we need some maintenance and maybe even where issues are likely to come up so we can proactively attempt to resolve them? Tools like Amplitude and Optimizely and even DataRobot are out there today to help with that. And then there's things that cut across the entire product lifecycle. Things like ethical AI implementation and governance. IBM has led an AI Fairness 360 open initiative about ethics of AI. Team management and skill development, right? This is something else we're going to go into in detail in an example here in a moment. But I have a team, if I'm a manager of product managers, the dirty little secret is that I'm being judged and measured by my worst performing product manager. And so it's in my best interest to treat my team as my product and focus on getting them as skilled and as high performing and as trained up as I possibly can. So how can I do that, and how can AI help me do that more effectively? Continuous learning and the ever important stakeholder communications. There's always, if you miss that one stakeholder, they can just torpedo everything at the last minute. So how do I make sure I'm effective with my communications with all my stakeholders? Lattice and Section or some other tools there. A few things to note. I want to call your attention to. AI isn't just useful in one phase of this product lifecycle. It's useful across the entire lifecycle. And as product managers and product leaders, we need to adapt how we do things so that we can incorporate AI into that. See, AI isn't going to replace any of these things or us. What it's going to do, though, is it's going to make us better, more effective, allow us to focus on those human skills that are more important, and less time on some of the tedium and maybe even some of the insights work, and help us with being a thought partner. So it's important that we as product managers and product leaders are thinking about, with each of these phases, how can we adapt what we do and how we do to incorporate AI into that as well. So kind of just a thought for you, what stage is your product in maybe right now? And how might you think about applying AI tools or concepts from that stage, right? Think about kind of where you are in your life, in your job, in your work, and where you might start to look at some of this. And there's even more. That's not the least. It's not an exhaustive list. And again, this is going to be outdated soon, but H2O.ai, Write My PRD, Pragmatic Compass, Iterate. This is a different Iterate than the other Iterate. Wisery, which I'm going to show an example of here in a moment. Chat PRD and Otter, just to name a few. Okay. Let's jump into a framework. As easy as A, B, C, and D, because it needs to have some sort of mnemonic device, right? This is a way to get started, right? So, okay, I'm now thinking about my life cycle of my product. I'm thinking about where that product is. I'm thinking about what I do on a daily basis. I'm thinking about and overwhelmed by all the different tools that are out there. I don't even know where to get started. So start with analyzing, okay? Map out your life cycle, your product life cycle. Look for areas that have abundant amounts of data or lots of inefficiencies or pain points. And those can be external users or even internal users, right? So those are kind of some of your leading indicators of areas that you could maybe get the most bang for your buck. And so look for those areas within your product lifecycle that you think might be good candidates for bringing a little bit of AI into it. One of the philosophies that I'm going to kind of push as we talk about this is baby steps. You just start small and kind of work through this and then grow and grow beyond that. So after that, brainstorm. Now you've got a couple areas. Let's brainstorm some potential ways in which AI can help. Consider it for a few things, though. Automation, right? Repetitive, mundane tasks. Prediction, using it to analyze and make predictions based on past data. Personalization, based on individual user information and data, and generation of insights. So think of it in all those kind of different ways, and then some. And as I mentioned, consider both internal process improvements as well as external user facing. Conduct some experiments, design some small scale pilots, define some hypotheses and implement, and then go ahead and rinse and repeat, right? Let's look at that data. Let's figure out what was the impact. Let's refine and start the process over, right? So again, take it in small chunks, take it in step-by-step approach. And I think you'll find that there's a lot of different ways in which you can start to make your work or your team's work really move ahead by, I think, leaps and bounds. So let's get into two real world examples. So the first is write an MVP PRD, minimum viable product requirements document. Using this tool, Wisely.ai, which I happen to like because it's integrated within Confluence. So rather than being a standalone tool, which are always difficult to bring into, especially large companies, most of us have, either do or have worked in the Atlassian suite of Jira and Confluence. So that's the first example I'll walk through. And then the second one will be more around a product leader who's trying to create a learning plan for one of their maybe relatively inexperienced product managers on their team. And for that one, we're going to use Claude, which is the AI tool by Anthropic. This is hard to read. I get it. It's a screenshot and I apologize. But let me just kind of step you through it. If you install the Wisely app within Confluence and say, I want to create a new project, it's going to give you some standard questions to start with. So this project here I called Caring for Mom and Dad. I was imagining this idea of an app that helps coordinate care of an aging parent. So it involves the children, it involves the aging parent, it involves caregivers, a lot of different people, and there's a lot of complexity around that. So what problem is this project solving? I've put in a few sentences about that. What are the business goals for this project? Put in some of that. How do I plan to solve the problem? Talk about some of these things, enter in a few sentences. And are there any known limitations? Right, so 4 questions. I've noted this is an MVP I'm looking for, not a new feature or something else. And I say, go ahead and describe the new document. And it takes about 30 seconds or so. And it comes back with a set of more questions, follow-up questions. But these now are specific to the information that I already originally provided. So again, difficult to read and I apologize, but there's things like what specific features are essential for each of the user groups that you've defined? And what privacy or HIPAA compliance issues do you need to work through? HIPAA compliance being regulations around medical information, since some of that will be included in this. Right? What third-party services are critical to integrate, right? So the answer in here is around integrating with doctor scheduling systems or prescription management and pharmacy systems. What are the primary personas? What are their pressing needs? Key success criteria? What are some assumptions that need to be validated during the MVP phase? And what potential blockers are there? So again, I'll spend another 5 or 10 or 15 minutes putting in some thought out responses to these questions based on this idea that I've been percolating and kind of crafting in my head for the last few days or weeks or months. And then I click Generate Document. And what I get is a PRD. Let's go take a look at it. Got to switch sharing to, give me 1 second, I apologize. Here. There it is. And here in Confluence, and again, I didn't want to run this as a live demo. We don't have enough time for that. What I got was this long PRD. Project goals, success criteria, assumptions, some scope, starts giving me personas, high-level requirements, feedback, metrics, user stories, and it goes on, and some non-functional requirements, and we wrap up with dependencies and open questions. Now, this PRD isn't done. You're not finished, and you can't go and send this to the engineers and be done. But what used to take days, if not weeks, is now taking seconds to get us to a maybe 80 or 90% ready document. So at this point now, you can spend the time reading it, refining it, updating it, fine tuning it to be exactly what you want so that you can start sharing and socializing that with others. Okay, maybe your company doesn't like to read a lot. So use some AI and turn this into a slide deck, right? There's a lot of different ways you can do this. And so just this example of you've got an idea and you need to write documents and get yourself to a PRD using this one tool in Confluence. Let's go to the next example, and then we're about done. You want to measure and help create a learning plan for one of your product managers on your team. This is a template, a product manager assessment template I've created. You can get a copy of it if you want off my website. But it kind of goes through various different areas of what it takes to be a great product manager. And you rate them on a scale of simple 1, 2, 3, put in some notes. So this is our lightning lesson. So my example student or my example product manager on my team is named Lightning McQueen. That was my moment of creativity. And I did an assessment of him. And I showed where he's good and where he's not good. He's okay in strategic thinking. He's great in execution. He's new. He's hungry. He's ambitious. He's great in technical acumen. He used to be an engineer. He's not so good in being user-centric. He really kind of struggles around communication. His business acumen is pretty lacking. And I'm rating these on a 1, 2, and 3 based on his level and what would be expected of him. Put in a few comments around overall assessment and some next steps. And then I took this document and I dropped it into Claude, and I simply asked Claude, can you please review this product manager assessment that I created and provide a suggested learning plan? And within seconds, here's what I got. And it focuses on the 4 main areas where he needs improvement: a mix of formal learning, timeline over 9 months. It looks at his strategic thinking and suggests maybe enroll in an online course on product strategy or shadow senior PMs during planning sessions over the next few months. How about his user centricity? Conduct at least 5 customer interviews per month for 3 months. Create some detailed user personas. Communication, practice creating and presenting a product strategy deck to the team. Business acumen, analyze the business models of our competitors. Attend business review meetings. And so really quickly, and some additional recommendations here: mentorship, cross-functional rotations, feedback loop, industry events. What you'll find again is within seconds, I have a very, very valuable document that I can use and sit down with this product manager and map out development for this person, for their career. Imagine how much happier product managers would be if they actually know that their manager is looking out for them and helping them develop and get better. And so that's the way, as a product leader, you can start to build up your team and use AI to, accelerate past some of your peers. Let me go back to sharing the presentation. So quickly, just in the chat, what do you think? What are maybe what part of the product lifecycle, or what task do you think you might try to tackle first with AI? I'm curious to hear what you've got. Market research, market assessment. Yeah, God, it's such a helpful there. Such a big help there. Oh yeah, more. All right, in the interest of time, I'll keep reading those as we go, but let me just go into the very, very short sales pitchy part of my presentation, my upcoming full course. This is a preview of AI-driven product leadership, starts on November 4th. By being here today, you get this promo code LL attendee. I'll have a QR code that'll take you right to it with that promo code, and that'll knock it down from $399 to $349. Okay. Who is this for? Well, hopefully all of you have now got an understanding of kind of what is the opportunity and where I can maybe help you gain some advantage over others with some of this. Product leaders, right? People who are managing product managers, I think they need this course. Senior level product managers who have aspirations to get to that next level, to get that promotion, to get that next job, they should consider this. And finally, startup founders, because startup founders are the PM lead for their whole company, right? So those are some of the people that need it. What do you get? This is the QR code. It'll include the promo code in it. 6 interactive live sessions, 4 projects to apply learnings. You'll get direct access to me throughout the entire course, an optional one-on-one session in preparation for the final project, and a course certificate upon completion. And maybe a little small to read, but some of the things you'll get out of it: a framework for identifying AI opportunities in your product lifecycle, strategies for leading and upskilling product teams, techniques for integrating into your product strategy work, your product road mapping work, your decision-making work, skills to evaluate and implement ethical practices, hands-on experience with tools. You'll come out of this with a personalized strategy for integrating AI into your product team or organization, insights on trends, network of peer product leaders facing similar AI challenges. Being a product leader is really lonely sometimes. So this is actually something I find that a lot of people like, because they can, work with and network and collaborate with other people facing their similar challenges. You'll get an enhanced ability to communicate the value of AI to stakeholders and executives, and you'll get the confidence to drive this innovation into your product organization. And with that, let's go to questions. You can ask me about anything. You can ask me about the power outage. You can ask me about product management. You can ask me about the course. So unmute and let's just have a quick Q&A in the remaining 2 minutes.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm joining from an airport. Can you hear me well?
Yes, wonderfully. Hi, Francisca.
Okay. Thank you so much for this. This was quite interesting. I was just wondering, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for product leaders in companies or product managers that don't want to ride the wave? And you're trying to make them understand that you either do it or you lose it.
Can you repeat the question? You said, what's the biggest challenge for product managers or leaders that don't?
Yeah, when you're trying to ride the wave, you're trying to introduce that innovation has to happen, especially on AI, but the company is too slow. How can you navigate those challenges?
Honestly, I feel that that's an existential crisis for them. I feel that they are at risk of becoming obsolete. I don't think product managers are going to be replaced by AI. But I do think product managers who don't embrace AI and don't figure out how to use AI on a regular basis to be better are at risk of being replaced by other product managers.
And how to navigate the stakeholders? I mean, more like upper management to me, they don't really want to invest. And my biggest battle is that, like how I can actually do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to show a few things. I think a lot of the uncertainty or the trepidation around AI has a lot to do with one of two things. One, uncertainty. I don't know, it's big, it's weird, it's scary, I don't know how it works, I don't know what to do. And two, lack of real belief that it's something real. A lot of people will try ChatGPT and okay, get a little bit out of it, but then they give up, or they get some bad responses because they don't know how to prompt properly, and they think, well, this isn't ready for the real world. And so I think education and demystification is really important. Somebody asked, will the recording be available? Yeah, a recording of this will be sent out to everyone.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you introduced a lot of really interesting tools, which I'm excited to look up if I haven't already looked at them. Along the lines of what you just responded, it's like a moving target. Things are changing and evolving so quickly. With all the tools, how do you make the right decisions on what third-party tools you actually bring into your ecosystem with your product and your product managers versus not? Because I think that's a big challenge of what to spend your money on.
Without a doubt. And this is a real area for like analysis paralysis. Quick, and I'll answer, quick timeout. We're at the bottom of the hour, folks. If you've got any other questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. Recording with this will go out, and thank you for attending. If you've got more questions or want to stick around, please do. I'm not going anywhere. So going back to the question, how do you do it? A few things. One is, this is where you've got to experiment and kind of iterate, right? You're not going to make the decision in one day. And the next thing you're going to have to do is, at some point, you're going to have to make a decision. And you're going to have to realize that some of those you're going to maybe have to unwind, right? You don't want to just sort of be sitting on the side. You may say, we think this is the right tool to help with our requirements documentation, or we think this is the right tool to help with our customer behavior analysis. And maybe you start to integrate it within there. And then maybe it turns out it isn't great, or the company struggles and maybe goes out of business or gets acquired by a competitor or something. And you may have to change that. So we're kind of in the early days. And so how do you do it? In my opinion, it's you make the best decision you can with as much information as you have. There's no such thing as a bad decision. There are high quality decisions and low quality decisions. So you make a high quality decision and you see if the outcome is good or bad.
That's great. And if we're done and it needs to end, that's fine. I do have one other question.
Go for it.
Fantastic. So along the line of, of staff development, there's a lot of courses that are popping up for, for AI. And I spend a lot of time learning every day, and I often get the question of, well, what are some good courses out there? And it's really challenging. It depends on your industry. It depends on the level you are in the company. It depends on your technical expertise. But if you have to approve of courses that people are attending, do you think that you need to have a list of courses that you'd recommend, or would you just allow staff to go out and find what appeals to them?
I wouldn't have a predefined list because there's too many being added on a daily basis, and so you'll never be able to keep up with that. But I also wouldn't say you can just go and do whatever you want. I want to look at it, right? Send me the link. What is it? I'd want to make sure it looks, it's not somebody just sort of making stuff up as they go along. It looks like it's reputable. It looks like the instructor has some credentials. But apart from that, learning is going to be good in all kind of ways right now. So I would lean towards I would err on the side of approving, but I'd certainly want to at least see what it is. The other thing is there's a sliding scale of how to improve and get better at what you're doing as a product manager, right? You can do free stuff, right? Go listen to podcasts, go read some articles online. That's free and that'll help. You can spend a little bit of money, maybe buy some books. That'll help a little. You could spend some more money and start to do some classes, some courses like the one I'm talking about or the ones you're referring to. You could spend even more money and do some of the larger institutional training, or you can spend more money and work directly with a coach, which is what I do as well. And as you spend more, you'll get much more actionable and personalized and contextually relevant advice. And so, I've been to some of these large trainings and I love them and they're great. And you come back energized and you have all these great ideas of how you want to change the product management structure. And then you run into the brick wall of we can't change things. This isn't how we do it. And you have to figure out how you can apply some of it. And it's really difficult. And so, depending on what you want to get out of it is kind of the different ways. But in terms of classes, I would err on the side of approving them. I'd want to see them first.
Great. Thank you.
Somebody asked how to reach out to me. Breakapencil.com is the easiest way. I think maybe on the Maven course page, there's also a way to email me, and that's BREAK, like break, pencil.com. Any other questions? I like Francisca's suggestion there of kind of using some wisdom of the crowd and your peers around course selection. Great idea. Anybody else have any questions? I'm looking through chat to see if there's any that are in there. Love the ideas.
I have a question. I don't know if we have time for that, but I would like to know how you guys use LLMs for prioritization.
Yeah, so there's a few tools that attempt to do it. So you can use some of the generalized LLMs. You're going to have to feed it a bunch of information. What are the features? Where are the benefits? You've probably done some grading of these, right? What's the business value? What's the risk? What's the customer impact? Those kinds of things. And then some of these other tools that you may already have used to do that grading. And then they'll basically go through and try to make some recommendations based on some of kind of what are the most important factors that you're trying, what are the most important knobs you're trying to turn, is really how they do it, right? The idea that you could say we're going to grade everything on 3 criteria, right? Business value, the customer impact, and the cost to do it. And then we're going to score those in some weird way, and then we're going to rank them, and that's how we're going to do it. But that misses a lot of nuance around Where are things that are related to each other? What are things that touch different different parts of the platform? What are things that take longer, quicker? What are things that are best done at certain times of the year versus others? And so if that information is within whatever system it is you're working in, the AI in there will take that into consideration as it does the feature prioritization. Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay. I don't know that I've got anything else for you. Breakapencil.com. You can follow me on LinkedIn. And I do hope you consider signing up for the course. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited. We've got some really great, I think, projects or kind of homework, right? That you'll be doing, it'll, within your work environment, within your business. So it'll be applicable immediately. My goal is to, every week have you come out with not only learning something, but also being able to actually apply it, implement, and use it. I'll stand here if there's any other questions. If not, thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it. I wish you a very, very good rest of your day.
Thank you
Thank
so much,
you. Bye.
Michael.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.